Hello, thank you for coming here this evening. Thank you for coming here this evening. My name is Jude Chanz. I'm the Director of Public Relations and Programming at the East Meadow Public Library. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. This is very, very important. People must be involved in local government. And having said that, I just want to do a quick commercial about the library. When you came in, you may have seen an exhibit called Moon, Mars, and Beyond. It's awarded to the library through a competitive grant process from the Space Science Institute and NASA. It is given to only 8 libraries in the country. This happens every few years. In addition, East Meadow Library has won more of these exhibits than any other library in the country, and we're very proud of that. On Saturday, May 6th, we're having a day-long event celebrating STEAM and STEM. Everybody is invited. We have the Cradle of Aviation here, the amateur observers. We have a visitor from the Space Science Institute. We will have programs, table crafts, exercises, all from 11 to 4:30. We ask you all to come and see what we're doing. Back to what you're here for. I have to do a little housekeeping by law. You will see that there are exits on stage right, stage left, and in the back of the house. And in case of an emergency, and there will not be an emergency, but if there is an emergency, please go to the exit closest to your chair. We also ask you to please turn off your phones or put them on mute. Now, having said that, somebody's phone will ring. If the phone rings, please don't answer it and say, "I'm in a program, I'll talk to you later." Happens all the time. Don't do it. Oh yeah, hi everybody on YouTube. Thank you for watching. We appreciate your participation. I taught speech, okay. I'm now going to hand this over to Kelly Jones, wherever
Behind you. Right here. I'm right here.
she is. Thank you very much for bringing it here.
No problem. Thank you, Jude. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We're going to just stand up right now and for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelly Jones. I am the treasurer of the East Meadow PTA Council. The East Meadow PTA Council would like to welcome you to the 2023 Candidates Forum here, that the library is letting us enjoy this beautiful room here for this. The candidates for this year's elections are Elisa Baruch, David Carl, Jessica Rico Simone, Phil Servita, who is not present tonight, and Sean Weissman. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters, Barbara here, who's going to help us, and her timekeeper and moderator, and the vetter of questions. And thank you for everyone for your support, and don't forget to go out and vote on May 16th.
Thank you, Kelly. I'd like to welcome all of you here in person and watching us via Zoom and live streaming. I introduce, we have a timekeeper who will show that 30 seconds and stop. I'll explain a little bit of our nonpartisan policy. League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. The League never supports candidates, encourages informed and active participation in government. In keeping with our nonpartisan policy, both the moderator, myself, and our timekeeper and a veteran are not residents of this district. All are welcome to join the League. You've already been introduced to all of the candidates. There are 5 candidates for 2 seats at large. We'll also mention to silence your cell phones. Please, no applause or any discussion and comments relating to when the people are answering their questions and your response to them. Hold your applause to the end. Please, and we'll give you now the procedures which all of the candidates have signed on to. The moderator will be a member of the League of Women Voters from outside the district. Candidates' open statements will be given in alphabetical order. Each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes for an opening statement. When all candidates have spoken, I will open the meeting to questions that you have presented from the audience. Remember, there may be very duplicate kinds of questions, and I will try to consolidate the questions on a particular topic. Also, we may not get to all of your questions. Understand, we have a time frame. We have scheduled this program for an hour and a half. So please don't yell at Kelly or us if we don't get to your question or is exactly as you wrote it. We do our best. I will attempt to rotate the order of responses for each of the questions. There were no rebuttal. Each candidate was given a minute and a half to answer each question. And they may get a little extra time, but there will also be no rebuttal. Candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. I've already spoken to the candidates. We're going to do things in initial opening will be in alphabetical order this way, and closing will be in reverse order. The purpose of the meeting is to determine the candidates' views, and there is obviously no substitute will be allowed to appear should a candidate, as we have, unable to attend. The use of props, charts, or visual, and the distribution of campaign literature is prohibited. And in accordance with league policy, audio-video recording by the authorized members of the media will be permitted, and obviously live streaming is done through the library. League remains the right to record, which we are not. No partial transcripts or recording may be published without written permission from the league. Please do not use your cell phones to tape or record any part of this evening's proceedings, please. We will begin with the opening statements. Elisa?
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the Library PTA and League of Women Voters for holding this event. My name is Elisa Baruch, and I'm seeking re-election to the East Meadow Board of Education. I believe that my unique combination of experience and temperament make me the right person for this position. I am a lifelong resident of East Meadow and a proud member of East Meadow High School's class of 1994. I settled back in East Meadow after getting married, and we now have 3 wonderful children who are all in district schools. My boys are in 6th and 10th grade, and my daughter is a graduating senior, and I'm proud to say valedictorian of her graduating class. I am one of 2 candidates who have experience in both the field of education and the world of business. As a former adjunct professor at Hofstra University, I have experience in the classroom and understand the need for students to be college-ready when they leave the public school system. In addition, I have worked in the financial sector as a senior accountant, treasury analyst, and most recently in app design support. Since being elected in 2017, I have always governed in a collaborative manner with the students' best interest in the forefront of my mind. In 2021, I was unanimously elected board president, and under my leadership, this district has come a long way from the days of backroom deals and nepotism. Requiring every contract to be rebid was a tall task that was completed to end no-bid contracts. During my tenure as president, the district was finally able to provide every student in this district a computer or device for school use. I spearheaded 2 demographic studies so that the district may plan for an expansion of McVeigh Elementary. I have worked with my fellow board members and the administration to finally bring the district into compliance with the 4% cap on reserves. Under my leadership, yearly budget increases never exceeded the tax cap and was even below the allowable levy limit when tolerable, while programming was expanded year after year. Academic programming of all types was expanded to the betterment of our students, including AP classes and access to BOCES programs. When I was given the opportunity to lead this board 2 years ago, I believe I brought a sense of calm and even temperament that I could utilize in handling any situation that arose. It could not have been during a more difficult time as the district and world at large was in the midst of a pandemic. Most recently, the Board of Education has been dealing with the fallout from a video involving the assistant superintendent. I have made it known that I strongly disagree with his comments. Upon being made aware of the video, I led the board into immediate action with regard to the status of the administrator and to fully investigate the claims made in the video. While we await the investigation's results, I remain committed to the integrity of this district and believe that the investigation will show our hiring practices to be 100% above board. I am proud of my accomplishments over the last 6 years and remain committed to leading this district in a thoughtful manner that focuses on facts and results and not knee-jerk reactions or quick actions that can put the district in legal jeopardy. I believe tonight you'll see that my responses and knowledge reinforce my position as one of character, integrity, and leadership.
Thank you. David?
I want to I want to thank the PTA Council and the League of Women Voters for hosting this candidate forum. My name is David Carl. I am the Bureau Chief and a Deputy County Attorney in the Office of the Nassau County Attorney, representing Nassau County Child Protective Services. I started my legal career prosecuting child abuse and neglect, and I've devoted my work to helping vulnerable and voiceless children across Nassau County. I and the legal team that I run represent over 600 employees for Nassau County. I'm also a past director on the board of directors of the Nassau County Bar Association. I'm a director of the Jewish Lawyers Association of Nassau County. I'm a vice president of Temple Beth Am and a past secretary of East Meadow Kiwanis. I am proud to be a parent with common sense values. I have children in East Meadow schools at Barnum Woods and Woodland. I've been a resident of East Meadow for nearly 20 years, in addition to having been born here. When I heard the East Meadow superintendent, the East Meadow assistant superintendent, say he wasn't opposed to the question of why it was necessary to sexualize our children, a chill went down my spine. I have seen what happens in my professional work when people take advantage of children. The East Meadow assistant superintendent claimed he had to implement the school board's curriculum covertly behind the backs of East Meadow parents because parents would not approve. I was absolutely appalled. I was outraged and couldn't believe that it was happening on the watch of the present school board. No one has the right to sexualize my children, and nobody has the right to sexualize your children. No one has the right to hire our children's educators based on their preferred politics. I've attended board meetings both online, and my children had even received terrific kids awards at in-person East Meadow school board meetings. I couldn't understand why the board members were getting away with voting on resolutions impacting our taxpayers' wallets and children's education with no discussion and no public explanation. I wondered why there were no public work sessions and why the board artificially limited public comment. I learned that answer when I tried to speak at a meeting, and I finally saw a sleeping giant awake as parents learned the board was complicit in excluding them from the educational process. I am a proud parent, a proud Jew, a proud professional advocate for children, and a proud East Meadow resident. I stand for those common sense parents of all races, religions, creeds, backgrounds, and ethnicities who don't want their common sense values undermined by the Board of Education. I stand for tolerance and acceptance, not indoctrination and division that's being covertly pushed in East Meadow. It's time we parents remind the current board to whom they answer. I'm here to stand up for parental rights. Thank you for taking the time to listen.
Jessica?
Good evening. My name is Jessica Rico Simeone, and I am beyond proud to be here today. I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters and the PTA Council for hosting this event. As a graduate from the East Meadow School District and a lifelong resident, this is a surreal moment for me. Many years ago, as a student at Bowling Green Elementary School, I may not have thought my path would lead here, but I don't think anyone who knows me is surprised that it did. I need you to know the honor I feel to have the opportunity to ask the community for your vote. I'm confident in saying that I know I'm the right choice for this position. I'm a parent of 2 small children in the district who have many years ahead of them as East Meadow students. In my professional career, I'm an educator and have been for over 12 years. This provides me with insight about what the teachers and the staff at our schools need to make your child feel comfortable and successful. I am knowledgeable on curriculum, education laws, policies, and overall best practices. I am pro-education, pro-teachers, and most of all, pro-student. Your job as community members, parents, guardians, grandparents, taxpayers, is to elect someone who will put your children first. School districts have become businesses, and yes, the budget and our money needs to be handled better, but the children are the reason any of us are here today. Without students, there are no teachers, no administrators, no superintendents, or board members. Therefore, we need a balance of leaders who will focus on the students while making sure our district runs smoothly and efficiently. A nice fresh start with a new superintendent and some new board members would bode well for this district. It would allow new viewpoints and therefore new discussions to occur. Effective communication is at an all-time low between our district and the community. Communication means building strong, trusting relationships with people, even when their perspectives are different from your own. Having varying viewpoints on the board can only be beneficial for our district. I'd like to be the bridge that can build back respect. Respect is a process of paying attention to people, to feel heard. Being genuinely interested and open to others builds trust. It is not necessary that we agree, but it is necessary that we listen, contemplate, and discuss others' viewpoints. For those of you who may not feel heard, I'm promising you that I will hear you. And for those of you who already feel heard with our board, I cannot wait to listen, understand, and build a relationship with you as well. My job here tonight is to make you feel comfortable and confident to vote for me on May 16th. Contrary to the events that take place at our current board meetings, I will do my best to answer the questions asked of me tonight. I can assure you I am someone who will not stop learning and bettering myself as a board member, and after tonight, I'm hoping you can assure others that I'm the right choice as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to be here, listen online, or listen to the replay. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and the PTA Council. My name is Sean Weissman, and I am a lifelong East Meadow resident. I went to Barnum, went to Woodland, and was a graduate of East Meadow High School. These schools provided me a solid foundation that prepared me to graduate from Binghamton with a dual MBA. I have 2 small sons currently attending Barnum. I am an East Meadow lifer. Why am I running here? Well, the same reason that we are all here, and that is for our children. We all want our children to receive the best education, to grow into leaders that are confident, contributing members to society. And how is this done? Well, it is done by leading our children by example. We demonstrate that the welcoming of diversity, whether that be politically, racially, religiously, or ethically, we stop drawing lines into streets and into our community. We remember that we are neighbors, one community, and we need not agree all the time, but we must listen, learn from each other, and grow as a community together. Our children are always listening and watching. As a father of those 2 small children, I am an educator, a spouse to a school teacher, and a business person. I am qualified to take on this role. I understand the business side. I hear and appreciate the challenges that educators face, and I also recognize and appreciate the concerns of the parents and the children, and I do want to help. But first, we need to understand that what is happening in our community is not beneficial for our children. The misinformation and name-calling must stop. I have family in this district in grades 2, 3, 4, and 6, and I take a very vested interest in what they are being taught. And I do believe that our children need to be taught certain life lessons, but these need to be age appropriate and taught by the proper individuals. I believe that there are certain conversations that must be had between a parent, a doctor, and a child, or conversations between a parent, a child, and an educator. And there are others that must be had between a parent and a child. I believe in continuous improvement, that we are never finished in learning and growing. And I think there are primarily 2 areas within the current board that we can improve on: communication and transparency, and budget and planning, areas that my past experiences prepare me for. I am here to learn from all of you, to engage in calm, appropriate conversations, regardless of our differences, beliefs, whether we agree or disagree. I am eager to step in and analyze the school budget, find ways to make the school budget more effective and efficient. Imagine if we were deliberate and fearless, and every action we take, we do so with the intention of having the best result for ourselves, but more importantly, for someone else. I am that leader, that candidate who is qualified and ready and willing to get to work to bring back our community, together, stronger than before. Life is not easy, governing is not easy, but nothing wanting is ever worth easy. We need to stand together, unite, and fight for our children. On May 16th, vote for Sean Weissman.
Thank you. Now we will begin with the questions. Alicia, we'll start with you. Okay. What do you believe are the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Education, and what characteristics you make a good board member?
Thank you. The board is primarily responsible for three things: passing education policy that is in compliance with New York State Education Department guidelines and New York State education law. It's also responsible for hiring a superintendent and evaluating that superintendent yearly. And lastly, number three, it is responsible for proposing a common sense budget that has the taxpayer's best interest while still providing academic programs for the students. Those are the three main responsibilities of a Board of Education member. The board hires the superintendent to handle the day-to-day activities in the district. The superintendent is essentially the CEO of the district, and the Board of Education is essentially the board of directors. In terms of characteristics, you want to have somebody who has an understanding of education law, an understanding of curriculum, an understanding of budgeting and forecasting, and you want somebody who has the ability to think, observe, seek out facts before acting.
Thank you. David?
Well, in addition to being a bureau chief that runs a team for 600 employees in Nassau County that much of which seeks out the best interests of children and protects children, I also have sat on a number of boards. I'm a past director and actually starting a new term on the board of directors of the Nassau County Bar Association. I'm a director of the Jewish Lawyers Association, and I've held a lot of leadership positions on boards that have oversight, just like the Board of Education has oversight over what happens in the district. I think there's an absolute need for much better oversight than we've seen. I'm appalled at the oversight that we've seen. I think a lot of the community is too, and I think I'm not speaking for myself when I say that. I have children in the district, and I will use my skills, my board experience, and my work experience to make sure that the board's oversight is much more effective than it has been.
Thank you. Jessica?
So yes, our school board is in charge of our budget, but I think in my opening I made it clear that I think their first priority should be the children. As an educator, I'm pro-education, pro-teachers, and pro-student. As a parent, I'm very pro parents having involvement, and so as a school board member, that will be something that I make sure that I continue to push. First, as an educator, I have a story about a board member from the district that I work in. He took the time to come to my classroom as a teacher and introduce himself, sit down with me, have a one-on-one conversation with me, and ask me what he could do to make my school year better, what he could do to help my children. It was the first time a board member was in the building, publicly seen, asking to help, and I loved that. I love that he wasn't just a figurehead sitting at a board meeting. So that's the kind of board member that I envision myself to be. I know that I can support the teachers that are in our district, who then can in turn support your children, which I think is the most important thing as a board member. Second, as a parent, I have a parent of very young children who will be here for a long time. I have vested interest in this district. I want to make sure that myself and all other parents feel included and brought to the table when they're having discussions. You should be involved in every aspect of your child's upbringing, and especially during their education. So that's what I'll focus on as my job.
Okay, thank you. Sean?
Well, I think the question was, what was the roles and responsibilities of the school board? So I want to begin by answering that. And that is to set the budget, set policy that is within New York State mandated guidelines, and to hire central administration that goes from there. That is what the original question was about the roles and responsibilities, and that is the only roles and responsibilities of the board. However, that does broach out a little bit, and it is the role and responsibility of a trustee to listen to the community, to listen to either side, to listen to the entire community. And my experiences as either an adjunct professor or a businessman running a company of over 150 employees with a multi-million-dollar budget allows me to be able to manage and do that. I think at the end of the day, I think that communication, transparency, honest approach is what is needed. It is level-headedness that is needed. It is not getting excited, angry, frustrated. It is open communication that will allow us to be successful, to rebuild the bridges in our community, to rebuild the levels of trust between the school board, the community, the administrators, the teachers, and our children. Because as I've said multiple times, at the end of the day, it is why we're all here, for our children to do what we think is in their best interest, to provide them the opportunity to be successful in whatever career choice that they may take.
Thank you. All right. David, we'll begin with you.
I'm sorry, sir.
This
one's, okay. Thank you.
Okay. What is your understanding and opinion of DEI? Those you don't know, you will explain that. Should DEI be implemented in East Meadow schools? And what do you think it needs in terms of curriculum?
All right, let me be very clear. I would never tell someone who to love. I would never tell someone who to have as a friend. And certainly, other than Native Americans, either we, like my Latino wife and Latino children, or our ancestors, came from somewhere else. Therefore, all of our heritage stems from immigration. And I wholeheartedly believe that diversity is important. I also believe that inclusion is important. And as a matter of fact, I serve on a committee of the Nassau County Bar Association called the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. However, I believe that the E should stand for equality. It doesn't. I believe that a free and appropriate education, I believe in a free and appropriate education, grades pre-K to 12 for everyone. I believe in equal opportunity for everyone, and I believe that a person's success should be predicated on their effort, hard work, and merit, rather than be predetermined.
Thank you. Jessica?
So the Board of Regents in New York State clearly states on their website that all students must feel that they are welcomed, they belong, and they are supported. They use words such as confidence, trust, and respect. Obviously, all things that I agree with. However, they also state that DEI should be done in partnership with parents and families. They state that on their website. Parent involvement is not happening here in East Meadow. With full transparency, allowing parents to know what is being taught and giving them the opportunity to make the decision whether this curriculum is appropriate for teaching to their children is imperative. We need to meet somewhere in the middle, not excluding others to include others, making some feel uncomfortable while others are not comfortable.
Thank you.
This is a very interesting question, and as I look around the room and I see the diversity in this room, I'm reminded of the diversity in our community. And what I get confused is when I hear this question and I hear the animosity to the term DEI, I wonder to myself, when did diversity become a bad thing? When did it become something that we should not work with each other on? When is it not okay that a math test reads a question like, Michael has 2 bales of hay, or Miguel has 2 bags of hay. When did that become a problem? When did we not realize that we are a diverse community? Now, it does need to be done in a transparent and open way with parental involvement. But at the same time, the connotation that that word has really become troubling, because we are a diverse community, we are a diverse state, we are a diverse country. And it is imperative that we work together to ensure that our children understand that, to set them up for success in life.
Thank you. Lisa?
DE&I, which stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, is not a curriculum. Diversity can't be taught, diversity is experienced. The schools, as a part of the culturally responsive sustaining framework, seeks to make sure that every child that's in the school is affirmed, is welcomed, and is included. Sometimes that can be as simple as a child explaining what their name means and how to pronounce it properly, and making sure that every student in that class knows how to properly say the name of their classmate. DE&I is about teachers letting children explain their cultures to the other children in the class. We've been doing this for decades. All of us have done a culture project in our social studies class. That is DE&I. The only thing that's changed is that now there's a buzzword that seems to divide the community. The teachers have been doing DE&I, like I said, for decades. And so it's important for us to continue to remember that the job of the public schools is to prepare the students to be able to thrive in the world in which they will live. And that means understanding and accepting those who are different than them. We don't need to fear what's different, and we don't need to only talk about what brings us together and what we have in common. We can utilize our differences to understand each other's perspectives. That's what DE&I is, and that's how it's implemented in schools.
Thank you. Jessica, with you. Can you define transparency, and how do you plan to enforce that transparency across the Board of Education?
Well, I hope I can define it since I'm running on transparency. Transparency goes along with trust. In the past, elected officials were trusted, and should be, to do their job. Trust makes people not worry. For so long we trusted, but we know now that we are no longer can. Because of the lack of trust, transparency is imperative. I know if I'm elected, I will go out of my way to be transparent, to make the parents and community trust me. So far, the opposite has happened. There should be open work sessions, public work sessions with the Board of Education, where you, as community members, can come watch us work, watch us discuss what is going to be voted on. I would like to reinstate those work sessions that used to happen many years ago. It would help us do just that, bring transparency to the table. Resolutions would be explained and not just brushed over with letters and numbers at the board meeting. That will be something I hope to reinstate as a board member.
Thank you. Sean?
Transparency is open communication, listening, being level-headed with a response. That's transparency. It is responding to questions and giving answers, truthful answers, regardless if that answer is what the person wants to hear or not. And I think that since I announced my campaign, I have tried to go out of my way and prove the level of transparency that I would have if elected a trustee. I've answered every question. I've answered every question that's been given to me, regardless if I have known that the person asking that question has no intention of supporting me. Because at the end of the day, as I said prior, we are all still one community. And regardless if we agree or disagree, transparency is being open, honest, and comfortable to have those conversations. We need to, as a trustee, be available to the community, be open. And I think I have shown over these last 6 weeks that I will be open, I will be transparent, and I will be available for the good or for the bad, for the pretty or the ugly. Because at the end of the day, we are one community.
Thank you. Elisa?
Transparency is the ability for everybody to see everything. I believe very deeply in transparency, and as such, this board has become one of the most transparent boards in quite some time. The work sessions that used to be held prior to my election on the board were actually done in a way to be able to exclude community involvement. They were written on the calendar as work sessions, and then there were these Board of Education community meetings where almost no business actually took place. This Board of Education has conducted all of our business at open Board of Education meetings where anybody can speak in one of two public commentary periods. The first one to allow board members to hear from the community prior to taking action on an item. Sometimes a board member will have a question about something on the agenda and strip it out of what we call the consent agenda and ask for further clarification before voting on it. The Board of Education holds its meetings in public pursuant to open meetings law. Open meetings law means that the board conducts its business in public, but it's not a meeting between the board and the public. What I have done in terms of communication and increasing transparency is sending out weekly recaps after all of our board meetings, as well as answering phone calls that come in when messages are left with the board secretary. I come into Salisbury and I've spent hours on the phone speaking with parents who have questions and need clarification.
Thank you.
Well, this is a very important question. I'm glad it was asked because my running mate, Ms. Rico Simeone, and I are in fact running on that very platform, transparency that needs to be brought to the current board. The current Board of Education holds one meeting per month. They vote, as was mentioned, on number or letter designated resolutions, usually without descriptions or discussion. Now, this leaves the public uninformed. They tell you, or they will tell you, that it's in the agenda or that they make phone calls, or, but they don't answer questions at the meeting. Most people don't find the agenda with all of its little details. They also limit public discussion, not in that a person can speak for a certain amount of time, but in that only 10 people get to speak at a board meeting, and then it's over. Everyone's shut out. So transparency needs to come to this current board. I would immediately move to cease the time limits on the number of people who could speak, and I would try to find every opportunity where parents and the community can come and observe the board and central administration working together. They have to be engaged on all topics such as curriculum, finance, facilities, and innovative concepts, products, and techniques for the betterment of the community, our children, and the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sean, I'll start with you. This has to do with school security. Okay. In your opinion, is the district security sufficient to safeguard our students and staff? If yes, why do you believe this? If no, why not? What corrective measures would you take?
So no, I don't think our schools are as secure as they should be. Too many incidents that I'm aware of or that I've heard of being able to access our schools through any of our doors makes our schools a problem. The first thing we need to do is actually implement doors that are secure throughout the day and have one entrance that is maintained throughout the day, instead of allowing some of the other doors to be open throughout the school day. Additionally, I do believe that our classroom doors should be reinforced. I believe that it was the Glen Cove School District, which passed a bond 2 years ago, reinforcing all of the students' doors to the classrooms. And that is one of the first things that I would attempt to implement if given that opportunity. That way, in the event of a horrific incident, we have a fighting chance to secure and keep our children safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
Hi. I always believe that anything can be improved. Nothing is perfect. I do believe that our schools are very secure. We have 2 security guards at every building. They are consistently and constantly walking the perimeters. They are very aware of who belongs in the building and who does not. Our doors are completely locked, all of them. The teachers have a door that they can access, and then the doors are open in the morning for the students to arrive and be dismissed from. We have a very good relationship with the Department of Homeland Security, and we have police at our buildings multiple times every day simply to make their presence known and to show that they are there for our schools. We have lockdown drills regularly, and we have fire drills regularly, and I do believe that we are doing the best that we can. We have worked with the police to make sure that our protocols are as sound as possible.
Thank you. David?
I need to correct the current board president because we only have exterior locking doors, and that's a problem. We also have antiquated panic buttons. In my view, the answer is definitely no. Security is not sufficient. We have ineffective security personnel. Now, some will immediately suggest armed guards, which may very well be worth discussing at some point. But the immediate need is to provide the district-wide security that will include self-locking classroom doors, exterior bulletproof glass, and we need to upgrade interior and exterior surveillance and computerized monitoring. These enhancements will provide the initial upgrades necessary to safeguard our precious, precious children and our valued staff. Of course, this must be determined in consultation with expert security consultants. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica?
So I do not believe we have enough security yet. I don't believe enough security may exist as a parent. As a teacher, I think about this as I am in charge of 18 students every single day. As a mother, I think about it when my children get dropped off at school. There are some things we could do immediately, some things that I have been made aware of as a teacher. There are things called blue lights that I do not believe East Meadow School District has yet. These blue lights will be used to signify an intruder. It notifies outside that this is occurring. As a teacher, I know I would feel safer if a classroom was a safe room, and the only way to make it a safe room is to have our classroom doors automatically lock and have bulletproof glass in our doors as well. That will create more of a safe room. Bulletproof glass on the outside would probably be beneficial too. I'm sad that we're even having this discussion for children who are going to school. Schools have always been a place of joy for me. My mother was a teacher, I'm a teacher, I loved school, and to think that we have to have this conversation is very sad, but it is a very real conversation that we need to have. And if I'm on the board, that is a conversation I will have immediately. Nothing is off the table. I'm willing to hear ideas from our community and from security experts because it's an extremely important topic.
Thank you. Okay. Lisa, we'll start with you. What do you plan to do to enhance academic advancement?
We have done quite a bit to enhance academic opportunities already. One of the things that I'm very proud of is that this very year we have just brought out something called the Seal of Civic Readiness, which is a part of our social studies curriculum, which allows students to earn a seal that shows that they are ready and they understand what it takes to be a part of the society they're about to enter. I am always looking for more opportunities for our students. One of the areas that we have been working really hard is increasing our dual enrollment courses. Dual enrollment courses are an alternative to AP courses, which allow students to earn credits while in high school through local universities. It's a really wonderful program that more than half of our students take advantage of. We are constantly expanding programming, and with different universities, we actually have programs with universities as far away as Syracuse. We have also been working to expand as many BOCES opportunities as we can, increasing the number of students that we're able to send to begin trade school certifications. You can graduate from high school with certifications and be ready to enter the workforce should you choose to go that route. And as always, we are looking for more programs like our Seal of Biliteracy and our Seal of Civic Readiness.
Thank you. David?
So, dual enrollment courses with local colleges that one of the other candidates just mentioned, they had those, and they were expanding those when I graduated from high school, before I spent the last 20 years in East Meadow, elsewhere. There are a lot of things that are just being done now. I know some people will take credit for ICT, but that was done in New York City schools. That's integrated co-teaching. That was done in New York City schools 25 years ago. As far as improving the BOCES budget, well, the current board just voted down the BOCES budget. There is really never a time where a member of a board of education should use children as pawns in a retribution scheme where the board votes down the BOCES budget. So I would do many of these things to improve academics, but it starts with improving accountability. It's not just transparency. There are $1.1 million that the state comptroller found in overtime costs could greatly be spent on many more academic programs, academic opportunities, academic enhancement for our children. The board is failing, and it's time that we stand up for our children and make sure that they don't, and make sure that they have the success that they need academically and beyond.
Okay, thank you. Jessica?
So I am going to echo some of what Mr. Carl stated. I do love that we started to include ICT, inclusion classes, into our school district. I was an inclusion teacher for 5 years. It's something that I think is extremely beneficial. So I'm very happy that we have that now. I wish we would have had it a little sooner. And I do think it's interesting that we bring up the fact that we have BOCES, like he said, because we were the only district in Nassau County that voted down the BOCES budget. BOCES is an organization that helps our children, so I'm not understanding why that was done. As a teacher, I'm going to come at this question for teacher training. I would love to be involved as a board member on getting better teacher training. I don't know what's happening in East Meadow right now, but I know as a teacher, sometimes I feel like my trainings aren't really geared towards what I need as a teacher to help better my students. So I think that would be where I would go with this. I would make sure that our trainings and any programs that we implement have people that are coming to actually make our teachers feel super prepared to teach your children. Because really, those are the people that are with your children 6 to 7, 8 hours a day. It's not us, it's not the administrators. So I would come at it as teacher training and making sure that they are prepared to better educate your children.
Okay. Sean?
Well, I'm going to try to spend the time answering the question about how we're going to advance academic enhancements. Because at the end of the day, we are here for our children, and I think that's important. So I think it begins in elementary schools. I think that's where it starts. I think by making sure that we're offering programs that lay a strong foundation for our children to start learning from there, for start exploring the sciences and the arts. It then works our way to middle school and ensure that there are programs there as well. Finally, you go to high school, and we have programs there. I think we should be expanding our AP program. We should be expanding our work with local colleges to ensure that our children have the foundations that are needed so that whether they want to go to the workforce, whether they're going to trade school, right, or they're going to secondary education, they're ready and prepared for it. I am glad that we finally, as Jessica said, my wife is a school teacher. She is an ICT school teacher. I'm excited and happy to hear that we have implemented that. I'm glad that we have finally corrected the mistakes of the past and did implement it, something that should have been done years ago. And it behooves us all to continue to move forward and put together paths and plans that allow the children to have a foundation to be successful later in life.
Thank you. David, we'll start with you.
Sure.
Where do you stand on banning books in school libraries and in this one?
Well, let
Oh,
me...
this one. Oh, I'm sorry.
So Lisa or David?
No, I didn't understand the question at first. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just reading the question. That's what it says.
I had put some thought into this, and here it is. Let me say that first, I stand firmly against banning books. My favorite literary hero was Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. He defended a black man who was wrongly accused of a horrific crime and then ended up dying because of it, but he stood up. I'm here to stand up today for what's right. And with respect to books, that was a banned book, and I don't think we should be banning books, but I'm here because I want to be a voice to parents who have been ignored by the current board. Books need to be age appropriate. So there's a middle ground, folks. When I was younger, the stores that had adult magazines had them separated, and you had to be 18 to buy them. I believe that the district should have a committee that includes parents and educators that determine which materials are age appropriate, academically appropriate, and philosophically appropriate for our elementary schools, our middle schools, and our high schools. Thank you.
Jessica?
So I'm going to echo a little bit of that, but I believe that books should be age appropriate. As a teacher, we talk about where are our children developmentally, and I think books that they're reading should be meeting them where they are developmentally. I also think maybe books should have ratings. Maybe we're at that point of our life. We have movies that have ratings. As a teacher, I'm not allowed to show a rated R movie in my classroom. Maybe that's something. Maybe books need to have ratings. I'm not sure what our current board or administrators know about the books in the school district. I know that if I am elected to the board, that's something I will make sure that I'm aware of. I also think it's a perfect opportunity to get parents involved. This is a perfect time for transparency and parent involvement. Our district does have a committee, an curriculum instruction committee, where they invite PTA representatives to come to the meeting and discuss curriculum and instruction and books. And then those people can go back to PTA and give them an update of what's going on. I don't know if that committee is being used properly right now. Dr. Casamento was heading that committee, so we will see what happens in the future, but I would love to continue that committee in the most proper way and get more PTA and parents involved in a committee where they can help make decisions on books and curriculum.
Okay. Sean?
You know, I think this question is related to an incident that occurred a couple months ago at our school board when a book was read which I agree was inappropriate to be found in our library. As I stated, I think that there is appropriate materials for age-specific children, and it is our job to ensure that that is what happens. One of the first things that I would instruct, if I was able to vote it onto the board, is to do a deep dive into our school library to make sure there are no other inappropriate age books that our children should not be seeing. I do believe that there are certain conversations that are had at certain ages, but it is up to us to make sure that we lay the foundation and the guidelines to ensure that that is followed. Thank you.
Please, no cross conversation, please, that I can hear up here. Please. Thank you.
So books are actually rated. They are rated either young adult, children, adult. They have different categories. They're also, for every book, there are recommended age ranges. The book in question that was mentioned was actually rated a young adult book. Whether or not we agree with that is completely a different story, and had the age range of 10th through 12th grade. The book was found in the East Meadow High School and Clark Libraries, which do house students in 10th through 12th grades. Just like Mr. Carl, I am 100% against book banning, and just like Mr. Carl, my favorite book happens to be To Kill a Mockingbird. That's a great choice. Books bring out the best in all of us. It allows us to use our imaginations and to view the world through the words that are written on the page. I do believe that we should keep age-appropriate books in our libraries, and the good news is that we do. Again, that book, I'm questioning its young adult rating. I just want to put that out there. The PTA Curriculum Council meets this Wednesday, May 10th at 9:30 in Salisbury Center. If anybody would like to come to the meeting, it is open to the public. There will be a presentation on ICT and one other topic which has slipped my mind. I do apologize.
Thank you. Okay. Jessica, let's go with you. What specific actions will you perform to bring the East Meadow community together and improve the negative image we've received?
Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Rest of it we don't need.
All right, so my initiatives and what I'm running on is transparency and accountability. I would definitely reevaluate the board meeting process. I know that that causes a lot of negativity and stress for parents who don't feel like it is being run properly or that they are being heard. I would immediately request we reinstate the work sessions like I discussed, where we can have open communication with the public as we're planning anything that's coming up in the next board meeting. This will definitely show transparency and accountability. Work on strengthening and accepting partnerships with outside community organizations. I've had the opportunity to speak to a few people, and some organizations in our community have felt slighted or not given the opportunity to help, and I'm not sure why we wouldn't be open to help from any community organization. So I would definitely look to strengthen our relationships with community organizations. And our district is rapidly growing, which is wonderful, but that also causes strain on our class sizes, our space, our facilities. So my job hopefully will be to make sure we make decisions that will be best for our students, and also be financially responsible, making sure class sizes remain at a low number so that our children are able to learn better, making sure our facilities are ready. And you know, I remember seeing a playground on September 4th that had a swing that was cut in half, and it stayed like that for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks before anyone changed it. So just looking for things that will make sure that our children have a better experience in our school district.
Thank you. Sean?
In order to bring our community back together again, we need to look at where we've been for the last 3 to 6 years. I think we have to have some honest, serious conversations about what has divided us as a community. Anyone can spend 5 minutes reading any page on Facebook that's an East Meadow page, and they can see the divisive talk. The first step is to figure out why. Why are we in this position? What happened? Once we have those honest, truthful conversations, it is then up to us to figure out how we can move forward, how we can put the past behind us. So the first thing I'd be willing to do is have a conversation with anybody to discuss any topic. Be open, honest, transparent. Determine what the issues were and how to fix it. I do believe that business should be held in the open. I do, however, believe that there are some business that does need to be held behind closed doors. As someone that runs $1 million business, not every conversation can be had in the open. There are certain conversations that do need to be held behind those closed doors. But I do believe that any conversation that can be held out in the open should be, so that there's open and transparent conversation, so that we can work together and put our community back together.
Thank you.
So the question was, what would you do to reunite the district and eliminate the negative?
Excuse
Sorry, it's Elisa.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
East Meadow is a beautiful community, and I don't believe that people from outside of our community are looking in right now with any negative views. As a matter of fact, houses are flying off the market because people want to be in East Meadow because of the East Meadow school system. They know that the East Meadow schools are so well run that you cannot keep houses on the market. Pursuant to open meetings law, all discussions that are held at a Board of Education meeting are held in public unless they are one of the qualifying reasons to be in executive session. Something like personnel matters, legal matters, pending litigation, collective bargaining, any type of conversation that would give away the name or the identity of a student or a staff member are reasons why we would move into executive session. Otherwise, all of the conversations that happen in public. I believe that we can and we should come back together, and I do believe that we are capable of healing the divide that might currently exist in our district. I am willing to sit and speak with anybody who would like to call and leave a message for me to speak with them. I believe that we can put the differences behind us if we work together towards the common goal, which I think we all believe and understand to be the education of our children. We may disagree sometimes on some of the topics, but I think ultimately we all believe that every child in East Meadow should be safe, loved, and included in their school community.
Okay.
So the question was, what would you do to reunite the district and eliminate the negative image? Well, first of all, I'd keep us out of the national watchdog media from videos virally circling around about superintendents, assistant superintendents, implementing covert radical political agendas. I would put a stop to that immediately. I would keep us off of News 12 for the same reasons, and the local papers on Long Island that are pitching headlines like "School Board Descends into Anarchy." I think that's a problem. I really think it's a problem. I think we need to put a stop to it now. And as to how, well, I would work on eliminating all the covert activities everyone's talking about. Now, our board president just told you she'll take a phone call, but she won't take a question at a board meeting. So I question how that's going to, how the current board is going to really implement that. I think it's time for change that's going to bring about a cohesiveness and a new day for East Meadow. I would also restore parental inclusion by revitalizing the committees that the parents are participating on, and I would make sure that everything is done in the light of day. There's a saying that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and I think that would bring a lot of people together in ways that they haven't been for quite some time. So, thank you.
All right, can we keep any negative against another candidate not in this conversation, please? Thank you. This is a combination relating to transportation. I'm going to read all three of them, and because it's very hard to put these together. Okay, so please listen carefully.
So we're answering all three of them, kind of.
They're all tied together.
Okay.
They're all related to transportation.
Okay.
Okay, so just listen carefully, and I'm happy to repeat any one of the three of them that are interrelated. Okay. School bus transportation is always a concern to parents and staff because they often way off schedule. Would you consider changing the district's method of acquiring buses and drivers, extra district, it's something you do with district-owned? Also, would you consider adjusting the district's eligibility guidelines? Recognizing the East Meadow has been inundated with bus arrival and departure tardiness issues and complete cancellations like never seen before in history of the district, what can be in the short and long term to alleviate this constant problem for parents, building personnel, and students? And this sort of ties together, what's your plan to fix the bus driver shortage problem that the district has been experiencing? As you can see, they're all intertwined. So rather than add each of them to one,
Transportation.
let's see how they can tie it together.
And I get to go first?
You got this. You got it.
Yes, you do.
You're fine.
All right.
You do, Sean.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I may need 6 minutes.
Yeah, wait, do you get a minute and a half for each card?
Does he have to answer the question late like the buses?
Ooh, that's a good point. So I'm going to start with zoning because that directly affects me, actually. I am not zoned to have my children have a bus to Woodland, which is a huge concern of mine as they're a couple of years away from that. And I can assure you that if elected, that is probably the number 2 factor that I think is important behind security, and that is figuring out some way to handle that. Now, I remember when I went to Woodland, and I was the first 6th grade class to attend Woodland, I know that my parents were able to have a private bus take us to school, which I don't think is an option anymore. I don't know why that's not an option. It worked well back then. It can work well again now. I know my sister, who lives a couple blocks away from me, has the same exact issue as well. These are challenges that we have that we need to figure out a solution for, and that is either with our current bus provider, find a different one. Now, I understand the question with regards to school bus drivers. Unfortunately, as a district, you don't control the hiring practices of the school bus company, so it is hard for you to make a decision on school bus drivers, but transportation is an issue. I get the email every morning about a bus running late or a bus arriving late, leaving the school. It is a problem. It is a problem that we need to come together and figure out a solution for, specifically about eligibility for our parents. Thank you.
I should say, I could have said, we can ask you, you can have a little extra time. It's a little complex kind of question. Okay, thank you. Sean, do you want to add a little bit more to it, or you're fine?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Elisa?
I'm gonna actually just go in a different order than you asked them, but touch on everything. In terms of eligibility guidelines, the eligibility guidelines have to be voted on by the community. It would be a referendum on a budget vote. The issue with changing the eligibility requirements and making them more, so that more children would qualify for the bus means that you're going to have to pay for more buses, which means that it's a strong likelihood of needing to pierce the tax cap in order to do that. I don't get the bus for Barnum Woods or for Woodland, so I completely understand, as it's been very difficult trying to, drive my children back and forth. But I worry about the tax implications of expanding the eligibility guidelines, in addition to the fact that if Guardian is struggling to get bus drivers now, they would struggle if we added more bus routes to our district. In terms of hiring and firing bus drivers, like we said, we have Guardian as our bus company. They're responsible for hiring and training their bus drivers. We try to help by advertising the need for them through the district, but they are ultimately responsible for it. I've heard some people talk about why can't East Meadow own their own buses? Again, the costs associated with getting the buses, the costs associated with hiring and training and insuring drivers, not to mention the upkeep with the buses themselves. So I do believe that Guardian is a great choice for us, and I do hope that the national shortage can be mitigated shortly. In terms of the short term right now with the buses that are struggling, I would like to have some sort of study done by our transportation department to try to come up with a way to make sure that that burden doesn't fall on only one or two bus routes per school. While we're trying to deal with this, I do feel that we can try to sort of share it and maybe even rotate which run happens first so that students can get to school on time more often.
Okay. I would say, we're good.
Yeah, thank
Okay. David?
Okay, so I too am not zoned to have my kids take a bus to Woodland. That's where they go to school. Well, that's where my son goes to school and where my daughter, when she finishes Barnum, is going to be going. But my running mate, Ms. Simeone, who's sitting to my left, and I both agree that consideration of adjusting school schedules in order to enhance the dependability of pickup and drop-off is something that should be considered. It should be on the table. And I know this was brought up, but I think it's worth at least looking at on a cost-benefit basis, and that is whether the district should contract with bus companies versus pursuing district-owned and operated buses. Again, it needs to be evaluated for cost-benefit, and both the security of our children and taxpayers' dime have to be taken into consideration, with the security of our children walking to and from school being the first and most important thing.
Okay, thank you. Jessica?
So putting your child on the bus is a very vulnerable thing. Allowing someone else to be in charge of your child to drive them is a very vulnerable thing. Accidents happen, things happen. So whatever we can do to make our parents feel most comfortable with transportation is what we need to do. As far as something that Mr. Carl stated was staggering school start times, it's something I thought of when I was hearing the community say that they were getting these text messages that their bus was going to be arriving after school already started. There are ways to stagger start times. From what I'm hearing, we are sometimes sharing buses with two different schools, so they're not finishing a route fast enough to be able to get to the next school. I know at Bowling Green there are kids sitting in the hallways until 4 o'clock in the afternoon waiting to get on the bus to get home. My son, who is only 6, literally said, "It's just easier if Dad picks me up, I get home way faster." So he's aware, like he doesn't want to sit there either. And then it also causes a safety issue. We now have children in the building longer than they need to be, which is not something we need. So staggering start times and end times would allow us to share buses maybe a little bit better and be able to finish a route and get to the next school on time. So that's something I was thinking about with the times. I do agree that maybe looking into having our own buses and our own bus drivers is something we need to put into consideration. I am aware that it will cost more money. But again, putting your child on a bus is a very vulnerable thing. So if it's something we think we need and it's something we can agree on, maybe that is a route we need to go so that we can feel more comfortable. Also, then our bus drivers would be on the regular. You would have a bus driver you see every day. From what I'm hearing from some parents, there are new bus drivers each day. I don't know how you would feel, but I don't know if I'd feel comfortable putting my child on a bus with a new person each day and allowing them to go off to school. So these are just some ideas and thoughts I've had. And as they talked about the eligibility for buses, when I grew up and I went to Bowling Green, I wasn't eligible because I was 4 houses away from the stop sign. So I get it and I understand. I do agree, though, that would cause us to need more buses and more routes. So we would have to take into consideration all the other things that I said as well.
Thank you. Alicia? So with you. If you were elected or re-elected to the Board of Education, what were your top 3 initiatives be and why?
My first initiative is always to continue to expand academic opportunities for our students. That includes students from pre-K all the way to 12th grade. We have started working with our director of guidance to be in elementary schools so that children are starting to identify areas in which they excel earlier so that they can start thinking about their future and guiding them towards academic experiences and life experiences that might help them pursue their dreams. My next initiative would be strictly to onboard the new superintendent to have him and help him through his transitionary year. He is very excited to get started, but as we all know, the first year can be very challenging, and utilizing my experience to help him through his transition would be a top priority. And my third priority would be trying to work through this transportation issue and seeing what we can do in the short term through a study to try to mitigate the current situation.
Thank you. David?
Thank you. So restoring financial responsibility, as for initiatives, my first would be restoring financial responsibility by controlling things like the $1.1 million in excessive overtime costs, according to New York State's own comptroller. And I would work on a financial plan for upgrading the district's security. That would be one of my first initiatives. The next would be working on eliminating all covert activities by creating policies that require the curriculum to be fully known to parents, to the community as a whole. And I would lastly, restore parental inclusion by revitalizing the committees that investigate and propose the age-appropriate materials. Those would be things I would do on day one.
Jessica?
So obviously, Mr. Carl and I have some similar thoughts. My first one is parental inclusion. I like to say that as a teacher, I borrow your children for 6 hours a day, and as a school district, we borrow your children. They are your children. You are raising them. You should have every right to be involved in their education. We are here to support you and to help you, but you should be involved. So that's absolutely my number one priority if I'm elected to the board. Another would be security. As I stated before, this is something I'm faced with every single day as a teacher in a classroom in charge of 18 students, and making sure their safety is my priority. And I know that although teachers are doing the best they can, I'm sure they feel the same way I do. They would love to have a little bit more support to feel like they can keep your children safe. And lastly, I would talk again about trainings and teacher trainings. I'm coming at it as a pro-education, pro-teacher, pro-student candidate. I think making sure that we have and even trainings in security, having police officers in the building that are training us. I know I got trained this year for ways to keep my children safe, so it kind of goes along with my security one as well, but also trainings in curriculum and instruction, and making sure that any new and up-and-coming ideas and programs are being used and implemented in the best way possible.
Thank you. Sean?
Yeah. As an adjunct professor, I see what it's like when a school district does not have a curriculum that allows children to be successful. And so one of the first things I would do is ensure that we have a curriculum that allows our children to be prepared for whatever life choices that they may make. As a businessman, I'm used to looking at budgets and making those tough decisions in order to keep a balanced budget, to look for opportunities for waste, to look for opportunities where someone may try to take advantage of a loophole or an opening. And that is the second thing I would do, is ensure that I went line by line and looked for those weaknesses and patched them up so that no one could take advantage of any weakness or opening that we may or may not allow. And then finally, something that I think we've all talked about as a parent with children in the district, as an uncle to parents in the district, to have a wife who's a teacher, security is a big thing right now. And we need to ensure that our buildings are secure, that when we drop our children off in the morning, we are confident and comfortable that we will pick them up in the same condition that we dropped them off in the morning. Thank you.
All right. David? What can be done that students do not miss services such as speech for weeks at a time because of annual reviews? Special needs students need their services. It's important.
Can you repeat the question?
Excuse me?
Can you repeat it?
Certainly.
Thanks.
What can be done that students do not miss services such as speech for weeks at a time because of annual reviews? Special needs students need their services. It's important.
You know, I haven't put too much thought into it, but it's an interesting question. It's a very interesting question, and it's something that I think putting more money towards the services by freeing up money that's being spent wastefully, or at least that's being spent inappropriately on things like overtime when we're audited. Those types of, they should be better funded. I think that funding is a big issue. I think that I would work on funding as the first and foremost priority.
Okay, thank you. Jessica?
So I actually had the opportunity to speak with a parent recently who was very upset about their child being denied services for the next coming school year. As a teacher, this is something I deal with every day. We're fighting for services that we sometimes don't have enough staff to provide. That is unacceptable. I am aware that adding more staff will cause us to use more money. I know our budget is already primarily made up of salaries and benefits. However, again, we need this to be about the students. Being denied services that you need is not okay. Not getting your services is not okay. I'm sure we can all agree with that. We need to maybe look into how many service providers we have based on the number of students. As I said, we are rapidly growing. My son is at Bowling Green with 950 students in his building. There needs to possibly be more staff added, and I know that that would cost us more money, but if you're here for your children and you're here for the students, especially for services, that's something that we might need to look into.
Okay, thank you. Sean?
As I mentioned before, my wife is a school teacher, but not only is she a school teacher, she is a special ed school teacher. So this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, as I get to sit and watch her write every year 25 to 35 IEPs. It is a shame if we are not able to offer the services that the children need. And we need to make sure that we are providing them the opportunity to receive those services. And if that means we need to look at our budget and reallocate those resources, then so be it. I am glad that we implemented ICT, as that is a step in that right direction, which will allow students who have an IEP to receive the services that they need. But we need to ensure that we have enough service providers available so that those students that need those services are able to grow, learn, and develop. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
If I understand the question correctly, I believe it's for a student who already is being given services but is not getting their usual weekly or however many times a week service because the provider is sitting in annual reviews for all of the students that they service. My understanding is that you are still entitled to the same number of hours of service. You can have them made up at a later date, and I would suggest that you speak directly to either your building principal, or you can speak to the assistant director for special education services of your child's grade level.
Thank you. All right, we'll do 2 more questions. Okay. East Meadow reading scores are average at best, especially when compared to many Long Island districts. What thoughts and ideas do you have to bring our scores to an above-average level? David?
I think is it me? I believe it's me.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
Jess, you're
no
right.
problem. So first and foremost, in grades K through 2, pre-K through 2, class sizes need to remain small. Yesterday at our budget meeting, budget hearing, I don't know if you were able to watch or attend, but I was there when Dr. Card said that K through 2 classes are not exceeding 20 students. My son is in a first grade class, and his class size is exceeding 20 students already. So keeping class sizes low in a early education class is imperative to be able to teach reading, writing, and our basics. I am a 4th grade teacher, but I credit the young teachers in kindergarten through 2nd for getting the children ready and prepared to be in 4th grade, being able to read. So reading scores are extremely important. My mother was a reading teacher, so it's something that has been instilled in me for a very long time. So keeping class sizes low is important, and as I said, we are growing rapidly, so that's something I would do. Also, we talked about staffing. If we need more reading teachers, that might be something we have to look into and reallocate money. I know my child, though, I do want to say, has made tremendous growth this year. He was being taken out by a reading teacher, so he was able to get those services. So I do want to commend the teachers in Bowling Green and the staff for doing that, because he has made tremendous progress. So I'm hoping we can see that through our district-wide.
Sean?
I think first is we need to acknowledge that the pandemic not only set us back in multitude of ways, but it set us back academically as well. And I think it is important that we identify that and we put in the processes and procedures that ensure that our children get caught up. My son, too, after finished kindergarten, which was the first year of COVID, needed extra reading assistance. It is amazing his ability to read now with just 1 year of reading instruction. So I applaud the reading instructor at Barnum Woods, who has put him at now an above grade level reading as he goes into 4th grade. But it is important that we realize that we need to work on that K through 4, where the foundations have started, and that lost time that we lost during the pandemic, and allow our kids to catch up, provide them the skills and resources, whatever that may take, so that they can get to where they need to be. Because I remember a time when our district could compete with the Jerichos and the Syosses of the world, and it is my goal to bring us back to that level again, to not just compete with them, but to exceed them.
Thank you.
I agree that the K through 2, the primary grades, are where the foundations of literacy are laid. And I do believe that we actually do a really great job of identifying students who do need that extra help and giving them the services that they need in order to catch up and be ready to move into the intermediate grades. Our teachers use an RTI system to try to intervene within the classroom so that the students can catch up within their own classroom, but there are, of course, times when academic intervention services are needed to be implemented, and the students are pulled from class and given smaller group instruction, which has been shown to be really effective, as we just heard from 2 of the people sitting up here. We are constantly exploring different literacy curriculums. We're always trying to improve our literacy, and we've seen now this year at the middle school level a really fun book club process that's actually being used in the ELA classrooms, and it's I have seen in my own family an increase in reading because of these book clubs. So while it's important to lay the foundation in K through 2, what I think our teachers do so well and are constantly innovating to come up with new ideas is to increase reading and increase literacy and the love for literacy as the students move up towards those high school levels where their reading comprehension skills really need to be sound.
Okay, thank you. Sean, the last.
David.
David, I'm sorry.
So I'll be quick because I think
No, that's okay.
I think on this question we're all in agreement here. We need small class sizes. That's an absolute priority. The processes and procedures that students need to be reading at a level need support from the Board of Education. But I'm going to also, just like others have done here, commend the reading teacher at Barnum Woods, and she knows who she is, for bringing my daughter up to grade level and in fact surpassing grade level after the pandemic. I think that there's no difference of opinion here on this question from any of the four of us sitting up here.
Okay. Last question. Start with Sean. Works out perfectly. Not good. Since each of you have already an established track record serving young people, please relate your track record to why you should be elected. And I'm going to add, there were 5 people running for 2 seats. Why should you be one of those 2 people?
Thank you. So I think it begins by my background and my resume. As a professor, as well as a businessman, I have the knowledge and temperament to lead our district through these times ahead. I think I have shown that I will keep calm, cool, and a level head regardless of what challenges are thrown my way. I think my track record working with students and children, such as a coach of my son's Little League team, shows that I am committed to helping our kids grow and learn. I think my experiences analyzing budgets, I think my experiences teaching college-level students shows me the opportunities that we need to work on. I think we've seen the challenges, I think we've all heard the challenges, and I'm committed to working together as a community to grow.
Thank you. Allison, Lisa.
I think that my unique combination of experience and temperament make me best suited for this position. I do have experience in education similar to Mr. Weissman. I was an adjunct professor at Hofstra University for 7 semesters back in right around the time my daughter was born. And I know what it takes to educate a student who has been successful in their K through 12 education, and I know what it takes to educate a child who has not been successful in their K through 12 education. I know where our students need to be if they want to continue on to the college level. My temperament is such that I don't do a knee-jerk reaction. I don't hear somebody say something and think, I need to do that because I need to satisfy that person. What I have always been about on the Board of Education is hearing what is being said. Just because I can't respond, it doesn't mean that I'm not hearing. And then I take it back and I ask a lot of questions. And from the facts, after the facts are gathered, then I can say this is how we should handle this particular situation.
Thank you. David.
So I stated earlier that I'm the bureau chief and a deputy county attorney in the office of the county attorney, the Nassau County Attorney, representing Child Protective Services. I started my legal career and continue in my legal career prosecuting civilly child abuse and neglect, and I've devoted my work to helping children across Nassau County. There are 600 employees that my team represents, my team answers to me, and we represent 600 employees. I'm a past director on the board of directors of the Nassau County Bar Association. I know what it takes to bring in the methodologies and the efficiencies to get things done. And in terms of children, that's where my profession lies. I am going to say it again, that when I heard For the people who might have chimed in since after we gave the openings, when I heard the East Meadow Assistant Superintendent say that he wasn't opposed to the question of why it was necessary to sexualize children, a chill went down my spine. I have seen what happens in my professional work when people take advantage of children. My professional work has made me uniquely qualified to be protecting children in this district.
Jessica?
Okay, so I obviously believe my profession has extreme benefits for me being on a school board. As I've stated before, and I think that was our job here today, was to let you believe that we are right for this position. And as an educator, I will be pro-education and pro-student. And again, I'll bring it back to my opening. We are here only because of the students. Without the students, there would not be us. So that is my priority, and that is my focus on a daily basis, and would continue to be my focus as a board member. I also believe I'm a really good listener. I truly believe that I could be a bridge between the divide that's going on in our community right now. I am very open to hearing and listening to everybody's sides and everyone's point of view. I have no problem having an open discussion with you. I do not use social media for that, but I do have no problem having an open communication with you in person. So I believe between my education and my love for children and their education, and my good listening skills, and my need to be a bridge for this community, I would be a great choice for you.
Thank you. Now we will do closing, and we'll start. Sean?
Sure.
I want to thank you for listening to me and the other candidates while we discussed our various perspectives on what this role and objectives of this role mean for each of us and to our community. I am confident that my leadership skills will prove beneficial to help steer our district forward. A leader does not stand behind a podium, voice raised, listing the problems and focusing on items that people fear. A leader listens to all the constituents and takes in, digests the facts and opinions that are being spoken. A leader takes what is heard, balances that with the rules and requirements, and acts. A leader reviews, analyzes, understands past challenges, and makes decisions on changes required. A leader moves us forward. We have made great progress in this community. But yes, we have become divisive, and our community needs to be brought back together, stronger than before. East Meadow School District is not yet done growing. Definitely, there is still work to be performed. We need to focus on communication amongst all of us. We need to appropriately discuss the difficult topics and conversation in an appropriate manner. Our children are watching and listening to us. We cannot continue to be two sides. East Meadow is one community, and we are here because of the children. We live in a diverse community. That is what East Meadow makes it so special. East Meadow is my home. It is your home. It is our home. It is where I grew up and where I chose to raise my sons. I give 110% to our town and our community, and I promise each of you that I will always continue to do so. I will be here to listen to you, to the children, and to ensure our children are provided with the opportunities to grow, learn, and thrive. The children are our future. We all have the knowledge and passion to help them accomplish this. So please, let me help bring this community back together and grow to its full potential. Thank you.
Jessica?
Thank you again to the League of Women's Voters and the PTA Council for hosting this event. I very much enjoyed myself. I'd like to leave you with some idea of what kind of board member I will be. One, I will encourage and if so demand that we as a board reinstate work sessions. The board has failed to do this for a while now. I would love to meet 2 or 3 times a month so that we can discuss, learn, and better prepare ourselves to run this district. I will fight to change the way our board meetings are presented, working together to come up with a solution that allows everyone in the community that wants to speak the opportunity to do so. I will reinstate partnerships with community organizations and businesses for those who have felt slighted in the past. We would like to take all help that is offered. I will be visible. I will not just be a person sitting on a panel at a meeting. I can remember that story about a board member in my school district that I work in, walking around the building, introducing himself at the beginning of the school year, asking what he can do to help the teachers for the rest of the school year and be able to help your children. You will see full commitment from me, promising to be a constant learner. I will be using the seminars that are at my disposal as a board member, and I will stand up for what I believe is best for our students, our district, and our community as a whole.
Thank you. David?
Well, thank you. I want to again thank the League of Women Voters and the PTA Council for hosting this forum. A school district's customers are the children, and its employers are the parents and the taxpayers of the community. The current board has a serious problem with transparency. They vote on letter and number resolutions without public description. They will claim this information is available on the district website, but for most people, it's virtually unobtainable. They do not answer questions at meetings and stifle public comment. An assistant superintendent was caught on video admitting to implementing a covert radical political agenda behind parents' backs. The district is embroiled in a $35 million lawsuit for race and age discrimination, and was found by the New York State Comptroller to have wasted over $1 million taxpayer dollars on overtime. That's your money, folks, and that's our money. This secrecy, mismanagement, and lack of accountability cannot continue. The school board works for all of the citizens of the district, and they have a duty to be open and transparent about what they do. I've said it before, it's worth repeating. I'm a bureau chief and a deputy county attorney in the area of child protection and child welfare. Safeguarding our children and improving our district start with the individuals on the board. Again, I have years of professional nonprofit board experience. I know how to improve our current governance systems. These experiences have also given me the necessary teamwork skills to develop consensus, to move organizations forward. The more I see, the more I realize, folks, that we need to do better. Change must start at the top. I, David Carl, and Ms. Rico Simeone are the individuals to do that. We're asking for your vote on May 16th at your local elementary school. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lisa?
Thank you so much for allowing all the candidates an opportunity to answer questions tonight. And thank you to the PTA Council, League of Women Voters, and the library for hosting and moderating the forum. This year alone, I have led the board in successfully hiring a new superintendent, negotiating and settling multiple collective bargaining agreements, proposing a sound budget that comes in at the tax levy limit, and beginning the process of expanding McVeigh schools, just to name a few. The job of a trustee is not one that is limited to a meeting, and I will continue to work hard for the students and community members of our district if I am reelected. As I have outlined tonight, I have the experience, the knowledge, the leadership, and the temperament to effectively govern as part of the Board of Education. In my time on the board, I believe that I have shown stability and always remained respectful during turbulent times. I have remained poised in the face of passionate and emotional community members and have and will continue to listen to your concerns. Under my calm and thoughtful leadership, the board has taken a fact-based and pragmatic approach to all situations, taking time to investigate prior to taking any action that could adversely affect the district. Since being elected, the board has moved forward in leaps and bounds. Our transparency has been groundbreaking in relation to the days of trying to close out the community by holding work sessions. The board has continued to stream our meetings so that more people can observe the board in action. I respectfully ask that you vote yes on the budget on May 16th. Our budget is sound and maintains all academic programming while facing the increased costs associated with inflation. Thank you to the East Meadow community for entrusting your children's education to me for the past 6 years. It is an honor and a responsibility, one I do not take for granted. It is my hope that you will re-elect me to this position for 3 more years. Please consider voting for lines 1 and 4 for Baruch and Weissman. I strongly believe that we have the knowledge, experience, but most importantly, the character and temperament to best lead our district. Thank you.
At this point, let's give a round of applause for all of the candidates. I want to thank you all for coming, and those of you that are watching, much appreciate you coming and spreading the word to go vote on May 16th. And there are a couple league brochures, if there's some still available, out on the table. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.